You're listening to Simply the Best Sports Take, the best podcast breaking down the best stuff in sports with host Sean Bingham. His takes are so good, he'd drop the mic, but then you wouldn't be able to hear him, and that would suck.
Get your sights up, aim high, let him see your fire. Pray for me, daughter, bring me that strength from...
Welcome into Simply the Best Sports Podcast. This is indeed the very best sports podcast. In fact, I did a poll with some friends and family, and the results came back that this is indeed the best podcast, so I'm kind of excited about that. We've got a fantastic podcast today. I am your host, Sean Bingham, and of course, we're in the thick of the NBA Finals. Game 6 is tonight, or excuse me, it's not tonight, it's tomorrow night. I'm trying to get the podcast up tonight in anticipation of that. But we've got some great stuff. I want to talk all about the NBA Finals. I'm going to be focusing pretty much entirely on that. And I want to start by giving a little plug to follow us on Instagram, STB Sports Take on Instagram, as well as just following me on Twitter, at Sean Bingham. Let us know your thoughts. We post some cool stuff to the Instagram as well. But let's jump right to it. Let's look at a post that I put up on Facebook after Game 2. It's been a while since I last did a podcast. I apologize. I'm sure you've all been really disappointed in that. But I'm gonna read this post, okay? Because this post got a lot of traffic on Facebook, and it's all about MJ and LeBron and Curry and the Warriors and MJ and the Bulls and that kind of stuff. So I'm gonna read it. We're gonna dissect it, but I'm gonna let it speak for itself, and then I'll dive in further. So here we go. It says, "This is me speaking, of course. I said I love sports. Sports are my biggest passion. Game 3 is tonight, and I guess we'll see what LeBron does differently than he did in games 1 and 2. Or in the 4 finals he's already lost in his career. But this video, and it's a video on Chat Sports Facebook page, really cool video about Michael Jordan. I said, this video shows beautifully why Michael Jordan is the best the game has ever seen. Not only does he have all of the stats, his career average is the same as Steph Curry averaged this year. Yes, for 15 years, including 2 seasons with the Wizards at age 40, Michael Jordan consistently did what is now considered, quote, unanimous MVP stuff. Let that sink in for a minute. He had all the stats, the records, awards, and championships above what anyone else has accomplished, but his will to win was unmatched. Listen," and that's referring to the video, "listen to how announcers and former coaches talked about him. He was the most respected and feared athlete ever because he had supreme confidence and focus when it mattered most. He demanded the best out of his teammates, and he led by example. Yes, he had unreal talent too, but his will to win and his relentless attack to be the very best ever is what made him just that, the best ever." Going into the 92 finals, the media started saying how Clyde Drexler was a better shooter than Jordan and that Jordan couldn't shoot the three. So what did MJ do? He dropped an NBA Finals record 6 threes in the first half of Game 1 just to prove a point. That he's the best at any aspect of basketball he chooses to be. Can you imagine Michael Jordan losing a finals with guys like D. Wade, Chris Bosh, Ray Allen, or Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love as teammates? Yeah, Jordan had great teammates too, but no one, and I mean no one, who understands and has followed basketball would bet against MJ in the finals, especially with guys like that as his teammates. The game has been desperately looking for, quote, the next Michael Jordan. And I'm sure at some point he'll come along, but we definitely haven't seen it yet. As much as I hate to admit it, Kobe was the closest we've seen, but even he couldn't touch MJ, and all he did was imitate Jordan anyway. Wise choice. This is also why Jordan's 72-10 Bulls would beat the Warriors in any era with any set of rules, and it wouldn't even be a close series. You don't believe me? Listen to the, quote, experts, guys who were around to follow the game closely even in the 70s and 80s. Now the debate is somehow whether or not Shaq's Lakers or Magic's Showtime Lakers could beat the Warriors. No one even talks about the Bulls anymore because literally every single one of them agrees the Bulls would win that series against the Warriors easily. Don't get me wrong, I like LeBron and I like the Warriors. LeBron is among the all-time greats, and this Warriors team, assuming they finish the job, is among the all-time great teams. And both are a ton of fun to watch. But let's please stop pretending they're as good as the guy in this video, again, referring to Michael Jordan, because they're just not. When a guy like that comes around again, we'll know it when we see it. So that was the post I did. And I got fired up about it. But everything I said in there is true. I mean, that's That's just factual, scriptural stuff. I mean, there's nothing in there that anyone can dispute. And if they do, they just don't understand the game of basketball. It's that simple. Colin Cowherd, I mean, this guy, gosh, he's supposed to be smart. He's got a show. I mean, I know his podcast wasn't polled as highly as mine when it came to my friends and family. But Colin Cowherd, a guy I actually really like to listen to, got a national show, been doing it for, I don't know, at least a decade or so. And he's got a huge audience, and his head is so far up LeBron's butt he can't even see straight. He worships him. He worships the guy. Don't get me wrong. LeBron's amazing. I know that. I watch him. He's incredible. Here's the problem with LeBron. There's a lot of them, actually. LeBron is like super clutch, except he's not. He's not clutch at all. He's not clutch at all. So he's got these, there's all these stats getting thrown out. Like, oh, he's so clutch because he averages this many points in closeout games. Well, Jordan wasn't really in many closeout games where he's facing being closed out. He was always the one closing out. That's clutch. LeBron scored 5 points in the fourth quarter of the other night in that, game against the Warriors, game 5, excuse me. He scored 41. It was amazing. 41, 16, these big stats. Well, what happened to start the fourth when it was like time to put the nail in the coffin? When it was truly crunch time. It's the fourth quarter. Your back's against the wall. What are you going to do? Well, I'll tell you what LeBron did. He sat and watched while Kyrie Irving dropped 12 points and ended the game. LeBron had 5. And 3 of them came on a super bogus and one fall-away jump shot thing that actually looked like a travel to me. So LeBron is not clutch. He disappears for entire quarters, just vanishes. I mean, he completely vanished in Game 4 of these NBA Finals. Vanished. Like he was nowhere to be found in crunch time of Game 4. Nowhere to be found. That game was the Cavs' game to win. They were ahead at halftime. It was their game to win, and LeBron completely disappeared. The only thing I remember him doing was getting turnovers and playing hot potato with the ball, giving up something like 15 shots in the lane that he should have taken, and he didn't do it. He wants to be the man. He demands to be the man, but he's not. He's not. Nobody's saying he's not the most talented because we all can agree that he is. But his mental strength, his mental toughness, his will to win, it is not even a fraction of what Michael Jordan's was. I don't even think it's close to what Kobe Bryant's was. And that's why LeBron is going to be 2-5 in the finals within the next few days. That's why LeBron is going to be 2-5 in the finals in the next few days. I mean, so another thing that Colin Cowherd brought up, he gave out this super bogus stat. If he gets any help, if he gets even one teammate to score at least 20 points, he's 88-33 in the playoffs. Cool stat, bro. Like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. He's the man. He shouldn't have to have everyone scoring 20 around him or 30 around him, So Cowherd's like, he's just asking for a Pippen. He's just asking for one Scottie Pippen. He's just asking for, a Kobe to Shaq. Ever heard of Dwayne Wade? Ever heard of Kyrie Irving, Kevin Love, Chris Bosh? Those are pretty freaking good teammates. So I went and did some own stat digging of my own, and I'm going to actually give you real stats, not like super random weird ones that don't really matter. Scottie Pippen averaged 17.5 points per game for his career in the playoffs. So his playoff career scoring average is 17.5. As a Bull, because that's the fair comparison, as a Bull, he averaged 18.1. So again, Colin Cowherd saying, if only LeBron could get a guy like Pippen to score 20 plus every night, they'd win. Okay, so Pippen's average is 17.5, okay? 18 as a member of the Chicago Bulls, okay? And I looked up in the 6 years that the Bulls won their championships, with Michael Jordan winning the Finals MVP every single year, only in 2 of those playoffs did Scottie Pippen average 20 points or more, and it was barely over 20. The very first championship against the Lakers, that playoffs in 1991, he averaged 21.6. And then 2 years later, against the Suns, and that year in 93 when they won against the Suns in the finals, he averaged 20.1. So only 2 out of 6 championship run years did Michael Jordan have a guy scoring 20 plus, okay? Pippen averaged 16.9 points per game in the 96 playoffs. The amazing 72-10 year where the Bulls went into the playoffs at 72-10 and then went 15-3 in the playoffs and beat the Sonics. 2 of those losses being in the Sonics in the finals. So, I mean, 16.9. 2 years later against the Jazz, the last championship, he averaged 16.8. Okay. Dwayne Wade, LeBron's teammate for 4 years, averaged 22.8 points per game for his career in the playoffs. With LeBron as his teammate, 20.3. So LeBron has had a better Robin to his Batman than Michael Jordan ever had. I'll say that I'd say that Scottie Pippen is a better defender, but I don't think you'd get many people arguing that Dwayne Wade has had a better career than Scottie Pippen. Dwayne Wade's a better second option on any team than Scottie Pippen. It's crazy. It's crazy that people don't see this. It's absolutely insane. Kyrie Irving has outscored LeBron in these NBA finals. LeBron's getting all the help he could possibly ask for. He's being outscored by Kyrie Irving in these finals. Okay, so Colin Cowherd, I'm calling you out. Know your stuff before you open your mouth, bro. Come on, man. You're saying that LeBron doesn't get help? You're saying he made this ridiculous comparison to the Kardashians and how they make guys. I don't even remember where he was going with it. He was reaching so far I couldn't see that far to where he was reaching. But basically the point of it was that LeBron is so good and so intimidating that guys don't play as well. Oh, that makes sense. So he's so good and he makes guys around him so much better that it comes full circle to where they get worse. That makes a lot of sense. Come on. Give me a break. Chris Bosh and Kevin Love are better without LeBron James. Plain and simple. He makes them worse players. Plain and simple. He makes them worse. He doesn't play to their strengths. He doesn't adjust his own game to play to their strengths. He's supposed to be the man. And then in crunch time, it's give the ball to Kyrie Irving time. So LeBron is not the man. He's not the man. He's being outscored by Kyrie in these finals. He had Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh and Ray Allen as teammates, and he still lost 2 championships, only one of which was Ray Allen on that team. He's got Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love as teammates in these finals, and more than likely he's going to lose these finals. He has no excuses. He has 0 excuses. Michael Jordan probably would have gone 8-0 in the finals if he hadn't gone and tried to play baseball. And he went 6-0 anyway. 6 finals MVPs. No series ever even went 7 games. He went 6-5 of them, and then against the Lakers, they beat him 4-1. His team went 15-3 in the playoffs the same year they went 72-10. You want to know how many games these Warriors have lost in these playoffs? They've already lost 5. Is it 5 or is it 6? They've lost 2 in the finals. They lost 2. No, they lost 3. They've lost 6 because they lost 1 to Portland, 3 to OKC, 2 here. So they've already lost 6. They've already lost 3 more games in these playoffs than the Bulls lost in that year. So they can take their 73-9, but they're still not those Bulls. And back to LeBron and how he doesn't get help, which is so stupid. So we talked about Dwayne Wade's average and how it's better than Pippen's, right? And of course, Cowherd somehow doesn't know that. But what did Dwayne Wade do without LeBron James? The dude averaged 28.4 points per game and won an NBA title and was named Finals MVP without LeBron James. That's what he did without LeBron James. What have any of Michael Jordan's teammates done without him? None of them did anything. None of them, not even Scottie Pippen. When Jordan went out, Pippen won 0 championships, never won MVP, never led the league in scoring. Nothing. Pippen was a great player, but he needed Michael Jordan. So, trust me, LeBron has had plenty of help. I want to read one more thing to you I have a LeBron loving friend and I'm a fan of the game. I'm a fan of the game before I'm a fan of any team. And, I straight up just call it like it is. I say LeBron's the most talented guy on the court, but he's not clutch. He's not the man. He's not a closer. He just isn't, okay? And LeBron lovers, of course, hate to hear that. So my buddy, who's a LeBron lover, of course, he's MIA after Game 4. And then after Game 5, of course, shoots me a text, and he's like, hey, what'd you think of, last night's game? And I just responded, I said, awesome game last night. I'm glad the Cavs won. LeBron and Kyrie both played amazing. I think not having Draymond hurt the Warriors defensively big time. I also still don't view LeBron as a clutch closer. When it came time to put the nail in the coffin, Kyrie did it, not LeBron. LeBron had 1 bucket in the fourth quarter. He had 1 bucket in the fourth quarter, plus 3 free throws for 5 points. Kyrie had 12 points in the fourth quarter and was unstoppable. I hope Cleveland wins Game 6 at home Thursday so we can get to see a Game 7. And that's how I feel. And that's the truth. That's not my opinion. Those are facts. LeBron's not a clutch closer. He just isn't. He doesn't have that killer instinct. If the game's on the line, I'm not asking Peyton Manning to do it. I'm asking Tom Brady. So you guys take Peyton Manning all day long. Take the stat monster. Take the guy that's getting the garbage points at the end of the game like LeBron did in Game 4. He went and scored like 8 points in the last minute 17 when they were already down like 12 and they were fouling Curry and Thompson and watching them. He was basically trading free throws from Curry and Thompson for uncontested layups. It was like he was padding his stats. It was like he didn't want the ball. He was MIA for the entire fourth quarter. There was like a 5 or 6 minute stretch midway into the fourth quarter where like they needed LeBron to be LeBron and close that game out. And he literally did nothing. Like 0 points, 2 turnovers or something like that. Did nothing. Then after the game's well in hand, and they're now fouling just in absolute desperation, hoping that somehow they can overcome a 11-point deficit in barely over a minute. And they're fouling 2 of the best free throw shooters in the league in Klay Thompson and Stephen Curry. Then LeBron's like, I'll drive and get some uncontested layups. Oh, look, I got 8 points in the fourth quarter, guys. What more do you want me to do? I got 25 tonight. What more can I do? No, you're not fooling anybody. You're not fooling me anyway. You're a great player, but do that when it matters. Do that when your team actually needs it. Do that when it actually means something, when guys are guarding you and it's like time to really decide the outcome of the game. Not when the game's already decided. Don't do it then, and then you're going to trade free throws for your layups so you can stay. You can still lose by 11. It's ridiculous. So I'm not buying that. I'm not buying it. LeBron's amazing. He had a great game the other night, and I hope he has a big game tomorrow night. I really do. They've got Draymond Green back, but Bo gets out. So this is set up perfectly for the Cavs. Perfectly. Going down 3 games to 1, obviously not ideal. But I'll tell you what, they could not have asked for a better scenario to have Draymond Green suspended for Game 5 when it's at Oracle. So they get that one. And then it goes back to Cleveland for Game 6, and now Bo gets hurt. So honestly, the pressure's on them. They should get Game 6, and we should see a Game 7. That's what I think is going to happen. I said from the very beginning, it's Cavs in 6 is my prediction, but if I'm wrong on that, it's going to be Warriors in 7. And obviously Cavs in 6 can't happen because they're already down 3 games to 2 going into Game 6. But Warriors in 7 is looking like it'll be the case, in my opinion. So Draymond Green, let's just talk about him for a second. Stephen A. Smith, I'm calling out another guy that's supposed to be so smart. I tweeted him a few times. He hasn't responded, unsurprisingly. But this guy is defending Draymond Green like as if it's his own son or something, saying how it's just ridiculous that the NBA, I can't believe the outrage, this is insane, how could they suspend him? I'll tell you how they can suspend him. He's a chronic nut kicker. That's how they can suspend him. The dude can't keep his hands off of other dudes' junk, okay? That's how they can suspend him. He's like repeatedly a cheating bully taking cheap shots at opponents, and therefore he's getting flagrant fouls, and he met the flagrant foul rule, and he got suspended. Plain and simple. They didn't suspend him because of that one nut shot he took at LeBron James. They suspended him because they gave him a flagrant one, which he absolutely deserved under the league rules. I don't care if LeBron stepped over him. If you retaliate with a nut punch, you're going to get a flagrant foul, plain and simple. And that flagrant foul put him at the total points, flagrant points, to warrant a suspension. It's plain and simple. If they hadn't suspended him, it would have been absolutely ludicrous. He should have gotten suspended after kicking, what's his face over there on, I'm blanking the name, but the big guy over on the Warriors. He should have gotten, for Steven Adams, he should have gotten suspended for kicking Steven Adams. But he didn't. He got a flagrant 2. Okay, that's fine. 2 flagrant points. Next one, you're gone. Well, he did it again, and he keeps going for the nuts. Are you kidding me? You're going to defend a guy like that? That's sorry, man. That's sorry. So, Draymond Green deserved it. He deserved to have to sit and watch his team from the box seats at the Oakland A's stadium across the parking lot or whatever there in Oakland. He had to sit and watch his team get pummeled at home without him. Because let's be real, he's their guy. Steph Curry can be off and Klay Thompson picks up the slack. Thompson can be off and Curry can be Curry. But man, without Draymond, especially against a team like the Cavs, they're in trouble. They're in trouble. So Draymond Green will probably end up being the MVP, especially if he has big games in Game 6 and 7, and they end up winning either of those games, of course, and they win the title. And you could argue that his absence in Game 5 further proved that he's the Finals MVP. So interesting stuff. I do think that Andrew Bogut going down is going to hurt the Warriors, but I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal. I really don't think it's going to be that big of a deal. I think that, they've got guys like Festus Ezeli, Anderson Varejao, Mo Spates, Mo Buckets. They've got guys, and they'll just play guys like Iguodala more minutes. They'll play more of their small ball. They'll be fine. With Draymond back and Bogut out, I just don't think it makes that big of a difference. It'll be a little bit, but not much. Not much. But one more thing I want to touch on here with regards to these Warriors, okay? I've been saying, and in my last podcast I said it a lot, and it got met with some pushback as well. I said that Steph Curry will be irrelevant in 4 years, and I defined irrelevant as not an all-star and definitely not the man on any championship caliber team, okay? So plain and simple, he won't be an all-star, and he won't be first option on any sort of championship caliber team. And I 100% am standing by that. There is no way that 4 years from now, Steph Curry will still be doing what he's doing. And even right now, he's not doing much. He's had one good game in these finals, and then 2 average ones and 2 bad ones. He's just not been that great. He really has not. Klay Thompson's been better, although he hasn't been great either. Draymond Green's been the man. Game 1, it was Sean Livingston. Curry hasn't been a Michael Jordan. He hasn't. Not even close. And have you guys seen the movie The Big Short? I'm that guy, okay? Everyone out there that thinks I'm crazy, you keep, thinking that the housing market's that there's no bubble and it's going to be fine and there's no issues. I'm the guy on The Big Short foreseeing it years in advance. Steph Curry's game isn't going to last in this league. It's not going to last. There's no way that dude's going to be like doing this crazy dribbling and shooting turnaround, fadeaway, 30-footers and swishing it. That's not happening for another 4 years. It's not happening. There's no way. There's no way. There's so many factors that are going to come into play to keep that from happening. So I'm the guy in The Big Short, and I'm buying up all my, anti-Warriors, anti-Curry stock, whatever you want to call it, or I'm selling short now, on my Curry stock. I don't see it happening, and I love watching him. And that's not Curry hating. That's really not. I'm not a Curry hater. I actually like Curry a lot. He's a ton of fun to watch. In fact, in my opinion, he's the most fun of anyone in the league to watch. I've defended him in saying that he's the greatest shooter the game has ever seen, and he's the best ball handler in the league right now, maybe the best ball handler the league has ever seen. But I'm also saying it's not going to last. It's not going to last. He's too small. He's got too perfect of a situation right now, and it's too new with too many things that can be done, especially with physical play, to keep it from happening. Or if any of his key teammates go down or leave the team for better options, a Harrison Barnes, a Klay Thompson, a Draymond Green, and his game completely gets altered. And we've seen it time and time again when some of those guys have to sit out due to injury or recently with Draymond Green suspension. So I'm selling on Steph Curry stock. Under Armour they better sell all the shoes they can over the next year or two, because I don't think they'll be selling a whole lot with his name attached to it 4 or 5 years from now. It's not going to happen. So sell, but you know what? Buy the Under Armour stock now, but plan to sell it in like 2 seasons. That's my advice to you. Buy it now. Actually, should have bought like a year ago. But anyway, with these Warriors, they're going to win the title, and deservedly so. I hope that the Cavs can win Game 6. I think that the Cavs will win Game 6, but time will tell, and that time is tomorrow night, and I'm excited for it. So that's today's podcast. I wanted to keep it short and sweet, but strong. So that is it for today. Hit me up on Twitter at Sean Bingham. Peace.
Thanks for hanging with Simply the Best Sports Take. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast and check out stbsportstake.com. Simply the best in sports.
'Cause we are